Welcome, everyone. Welcome back. What's Left podcast. John, Jake, and Brad. We are joined by a special guest, Steve Hill, running in California's 37th district, southern part of Los Angeles, I believe, but he'll tell you more about that. Steve accepts no money, not yours, not PAC's, not nobody's. He's just wants your vote. And Steve, why don't you go ahead and start off by telling us a little bit about who you are, why you're running, and who you're running against.
All right, who I am. Um, Born on the north side of St. Louis in the ghetto. um, about 1961, about 2 weeks after President Barack Obama's birthday. Joined the United States Marine Corps. 17 years old. Come from a military family. That men in my family fought for this country, dating back to the Civil War. Father fought in World War II. Brother fought in Vietnam. Nephew Desert Storm. And I spent 6 years proudly serving in the United States Marine Corps. And after that, I worked in LA in aerospace for a little while as a computer numerical control machinist, making aircraft parts out of exotic metals for the B-2 bomber program and the stealth fighters and such as that. I got a little bored with that, decided I would wanted something a little bit more exciting. So I went and worked for 10 years in two different maximum security prisons, one being CCI, which is California Correctional Institution at Tehachapi, the other being CSPLAC, which is California State Prison, Los Angeles County, the only prison within the bounds of Los Angeles County. And I had a disagreement with the administration. I took an early retirement and I opened a real estate appraisal business in 2004. So I've been a licensed real estate appraiser for a little over 20 years. I still have an active license, but I gave that up a few months ago. And I'm just totally retired, full-time activist and troublemaker pretty much.
All right. So activist, we know what we've seen and everybody has seen on television about Los Angeles lately, with the ICE raids, immigration. So tell us a little bit about what that was like. Did you experience that personally? And just, your reaction to obviously the death of Keith Porter Jr., Renee Good, these shootings that are happening. Like this, it's a little dystopian to talk about the federal government executing its own citizens here, but that's what's going on. So I just wonder what your stance is on ICE
Yeah.
and immigration generally.
Well, that the ICE raids when they hit LA kind of kicked it all into high season here for the activist community. When I first started seeing them, and it seems like LA was the first place Trump was determined to hit to prove some kind of point with us being a blue state and Governor Newsom. When I saw them deploying United States Marines, active United States Marines to the streets of LA, that's when I I couldn't take it anymore, and I started organizing people and going to the marches, protesting, watching ICE. Posse Comitatus Act that was passed into law in 1878 stipulated that you cannot use federal troops on the streets of LA or the streets of any American city for that matter for policing duties. So I knew that was wrong. It was actually breaking laws. So I went down and I basically, stood on the front line, standing next to the Marines, asking them to remain calm, remain quiet. I know you guys don't want to be here. This isn't your job. It's actually illegal. I was actually informing them that they could take a conscientious objector status and ask to be removed from the whole fiasco that was created by deploying federal troops to American cities. I mean, we just don't do that. It's illegal. And I think Trump should be arrested on day one when he gets out of office.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely big support for that. I had wondered about that. It struck me that so many American soldiers, Marines, were willing to stand there and not take the conscientious objector stance or even refuse some of these seemingly illegal orders. But I don't know. As a former Marine yourself, like how that's probably a pretty difficult balance to strike, I imagine.
But when you're at that age, you've already at that point, and I saw PFCs, private first class, lance corporals. Um, when you're at that stage of your military service, you pretty much just want to, you're not, and it kind of teaches you don't question authority, and you have to follow orders
Yeah,
until they can be it can be ascertained whether they're illegal orders or not. But I'm sure in most circumstances they were not in in a position to question whether the orders are legal or not. You just deploy.
yeah,
But and that's why I was trying to give them additional information to you know get them out of that situation. It was a horrible situation to be in. I know I wouldn't want to be in it.
yeah.
That would be like me being deployed on the streets of say like my hometown of St. Louis or something. It's just a nasty situation.
Right. Yeah, I mean, of all the things, the ways that he disrespects the veterans, like in military in general, like that's it's just as disrespectful that he would ask them to do something so atrocious. Um, I just finally, I just want to make sure your stance on ICE funding, ICE generally, the abolish ICE was considered a radical position a while
Yeah,
back.
that is a radical position, and that's the problem with our politics. You know, they have both sides. The spectrum. You're either far right or far left, and I'm neither. I'm for finding some kind of common sense solutions. Just like in the big defund the police thing. I wore a badge for 10 years in a state prison, surrounded by most of the time 2,000 convicted felons on a prison yard. I wouldn't want nobody to defund me if I was doing my job. In the capacity of a state correctional peace officer. I wouldn't want to be defunded. I mean, you don't have to issue heavy tanks and artillery and equipment like that for policemen in cities. I mean, if they could come up with a less radical solution, like maybe let's slash the budget of ICE or the police. I mean, we got to remain commonsensical, logical, reasonable. We just can't go nilly willy, way to the right, way to the left. These far extremes is really hurting the country and actually doing detrimentally. It's keeping us divided.
So just to clarify your position on ICE, you wouldn't be for abolishing it necessarily, but you would be for pulling some funding from it in order to rein it in at least.
Correct.
Because
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we could all agree that the what's truly the most radical thing is what ICE is doing right now. I mean, attacking people on the street.
Right. Right. And I think what they're doing right now is seriously just a lack of training because they're hurrying up and putting these guys out there on the streets, paying them all this big $50,000 bonus for signing up, and it's like who's vetted these guys? How do when Trump told the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by? Are these the guys that he was talking to? I got a feeling it was. I
Hmm.
bet a whole lot of these guys are just some redneck ass hillbillies who couldn't wait, probably couldn't qualify for any of our armed services or even police departments for that matter. But guys that have just been waiting, chopping at the bit to get some kind of law authority to work under the color of law
Hmm.
where they can control all of these people who basically our president has told them to hate. And that's all I see is it's just festered and wrapped up in just balls of hatred for brown people.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Brad, go ahead.
So we like to hear from candidates their plan to do. As you know, from both sides, we hear a lot of talking and very minimal effort. So one of our listeners asked us, "What's an urgent issue currently in your district that's not receiving the attention that it deserves, and what would legislation look like from you to address that?"
Well, one of the urgent issues, and I mean extremely urgent, is the homelessness issue. I live probably about 1,500 yards from where the first streets, I would say, where Skid Row starts in Los Angeles. We have a homelessness problem here that has persisted since I first started coming to Los Angeles in 1980, 81. I mean, they call it Skid Row. And as a real estate appraiser, 20 years, and I look at the homelessness issue, and of course, everybody wants to run to those easy remedies to try to fix the mental health issue or the addiction issue. But I think it goes even deeper than that, because I just think some people don't want to play this involuntary game of Monopoly that we're all forced to play. And some people just want to clock out. But then on the other hand, you're pitching tents on sidewalks and in the streets and in front of people's apartments. On the other hand, those people have to be considered too. So what do? You lock them all up? You institutionalize them? No, there's got to be solutions. This is the richest nation on the face of the earth. There's got to be solutions. If we have bombs to send Israel and Ukraine, then damn it, we should have some money to create some kind of safety net so our people won't live in these inhumane conditions, sleeping on the concrete and underpasses of freeways. I mean, it's just inhumane. At some point, our humanity has to kick in.
Yeah.
So, and we've got state and local. It seems like this is insurmountable endeavor, but we've got state, local, we have county, we have all of these different entities that have been receiving all of these funds for years to try to do something about the homeless situation. I don't see where the money's going, but I would write legislation so we can get some cash flow from Congress, where they have control of the purse strings for the country. We've got to do better than this. I just refuse to accept we can't do something to fix this homelessness issue. And then you have all these homeless people. This is downtown Los Angeles. This is some of the most expensive real estate in the country. But I guarantee you, I can craft some type of legislation to work with state, local, county officials to find a cure, to do something about the situation.
Is your cure more geared towards creating housing for homeless, or creating a
Well,
way to get
well,
them off the streets, or a way to move the problem to a different district?
well. See, the reason they stay downtown is because there's a lot of wraparound services and what is it? The homeless. Oh, there's all different types of acronyms for them, but they all provide services: food, mental health, healthcare. So these people all stay congregating in that one area. So I lived in the high desert, North Los Angeles County, where there is ample, excessive amount of vacant land. You can put all of those services there. Move those people out. They're away from neighborhoods because they're creating adverse conditions that would be conducive to increased property values. But you have all of these homeless people in your neighborhood. That's not fair to the single family homeowners who live in close proximity to that situation. But yeah, I think it would have to be a massive relocation program, and you just build all of those services. I mean, you can even build liquor stores, you can build shops, but build a community where if you want to clock out of society, you can do it there without creating this underclass world of homelessness and blight. It's just horrible to me. I think it's inhumane.
Well, certainly it's inhumane, but I feel like a lot of the problem with being homeless too is, having been there myself, uh, transportation is a huge issue as well. And when you don't have public transportation that helps people get back and forth to doctor's appointments, people don't have health. I mean, this country has nothing for health insurance. I see the health insurance thing listed on your website. But I mean, a lot of homeless people are veterans who've served our country, people dealing with addiction problems. These are people who without that help, are danger to themselves and society. I mean, it's not their fault where these things are located, and it's not really.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is exactly, but I feel like there has to be. We have to prioritize too the safety of these people
Correct.
first and foremost, right?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
And I say we build them a giant facility. Maybe I think 75 acres would do it. As far as transportation, we would place all of their needs right there within walking distance. Hospitals, addiction centers, stores, shops. I mean, it would just basically be a community of homeless people, but it won't be in downtown Los Angeles.
Hmm.
But it would be humane. It would still give these people the freedom they want. They can sleep out, whatever. Because most of these people don't want to, and I understand it. Sometimes I envy them. They don't want to program. When I worked as a correctional officer, there was inmates who they couldn't program out on the streets. They couldn't get a regular job and go do it consistently. But they would come to prison and all of a sudden they would program. They would know what time to do this. That's the kind of controlled life you must have in order for you to maintain some level of decency and humanity to live amongst others. Because, we all have to live together here. And that's our commonality. That's what binds us. We all have to live here.
Sure. Just to be clear, though, we're not talking about like an open air prison facility.
No.
Okay.
No, they'd be free. They'd be free to come and go.
Okay. Jake, why don't you go ahead?
That goes back to the transportation issue, though.
Sure. Jake, go ahead.
All right. I would like to hear your stance on queer issues such as gender affirming care, marriage rights, trans rights. I wasn't able to see like anything on your website about these issues. I just like for the LGBTQI plus community, are you a candidate we can like rely on or get behind?
Yes, I am. That's one of the great things about being American. You can be free to be or love who you want to love, as long as you're not hurting anyone. I just happen to have a LGBTQ daughter that I love very much. So you know what, the whole LGBT thing to me, it for some reason it's not even I wish everyone could be to this point where it's not even an issue. We don't have to talk about it because everybody knows, everyone has rights, and someone else's sexual orientation, quite frankly, is none of your fucking business.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Right. Exactly. All right. I also noticed on your website you've got the tax the rich, or not tax the
Yes.
rich, but you got ethical tax code is how you put it, I believe, right?
Yes, something more fair for working people.
Yeah.
I mean, we working people, the middle class, tax to death, literally tax to death. I mean, not only the money they take out of your wages, every time you walk into the store, your tax. California has the highest, I think, 11.2% tax rate. I mean, that's what anytime you pull money out or your debit card, we're getting taxed. And then there's the allocation of all of those funds. How they're spending our tax dollars is another thing. But yeah, tax the rich, just like Warren Buffett said. It's people know that it's unfair. So why would we persist and maintain a taxation system that isn't equitable, that isn't fair to more people?
Yeah.
I mean, how much money does one man need? It's real basic. Everybody needs food to eat. Everybody needs a place to sleep. It's, yeah, tax the rich, tax the shit out of them. That's what I say.
Okay, it's a growingly popular position because, and like let's go back, let's just circle back to some of the other issues. Like, when you talk about, like, we do have a horrendous homeless problem. We have veterans who can't find healthcare. We have people who can't find food, but there's plenty of money. Like, the American people are producing wealth for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Where's it going? We
Yeah,
shouldn't have a
yeah,
single person that needs to sleep on the street or go hungry at night. Like, it just doesn't need to happen. It's not
exactly.
necessary.
And you know what it all boils down to? How much do we love one another?
Mhm. Yeah.
How much, how much love you have to have in your heart to want all of our children educated, everybody to have health care. I mean, I'm an atheist. I'm a proud atheist. And that's another one of our freedoms under the First Amendment.
Yeah.
You can, no prohibiting of religious freedom. So if I choose not to worship some guy in the sky, then that's fine because I'm an American and I have rights under the First Amendment. I can do that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, hey, don't get me started on that.
All right, Brad, go ahead and give him.
So again, we have another listener's question, and this is kind of in regards. We saw on your website. I posted sharing just, hey, we'll be having Steve on the show. If you'd like to ask him some questions, kind of here's his platform. What do you got for me? And their question verbatim is, although police accountability is absolutely necessary, California has gone too far in stripping law enforcement of their authority needed to uphold the law. The result is obvious in the rising crime rate. Leadership should be focused on fixing what's broken in law enforcement, not creating a system where chaos feels tolerated and criminals face little consequences. So when you mention police accountability, what does that look like for you, Steve?
And I'm dealing with one of those situations right now as far as police accountability. I'm fighting the Department of Justice for my own arrest. But police accountability is very simple. You do something that you're not operating under the color of the law. You do something that's illegal, then you need to be held accountable. And if that means turning your badge in, do it. But that's the whole thing right now. That's the whole thing that's coming up with these midterm elections. We need to get people in office in these midterms now, so that after our next presidential election, we'll have people in place that's not afraid to hold the previous administration accountable. It's real simple. It's not about justice. It's about accountability. It's about people being responsible for their actions. And if they're wearing a badge, don't make one damn bit. If you're going to deprive someone of their basic human rights, or commit violent acts against the public, and it can be documented, investigated, people need to be held accountable. And that entails everything that's stipulated in our laws, rules, and regulations. If it means that you need to go to jail, then you need to go to jail. But people need to be held accountable, especially law enforcement.
Amen. All right, Jake, last question. Go ahead.
Well, first off, thank you and your entire family pretty much for your services in our military and everything in your Marines. The With Israel and Palestine, the conflict is continuing endlessly, and the American taxpayers are exhausted with our continued support of the Israeli government's genocide of the Palestinian people of Gaza. As a representative, would you be willing to vote for sending aid? What are your stances on this issue?
Extending aid to Gaza?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, of course. They need all the aid we can give them. And then if somebody needs to be defunded, it's Israel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. all of that money that goes to our American lawmakers from APAC, all of the money, and I could throw out the figures, but they're always changing. And that's another thing I say about our broken political system. It's too much money in it, and it's dark money, special interest groups, and I'm totally pro union,
Hmm.
but it's too much union. Too much money is influencing our politicians. They get in office, they make connections to where they can have this influx of cash every campaign cycle from the same bastards that sent the money last time to keep them in office. And then they're not beholden to the people anymore. They're beholden to people like, you know, the APAC, and I'm not anti-Semite, nothing like that. I love everybody, but wrong is wrong, and genocide is wrong. Simple as that.
Amen. Yeah,
Exactly.
I agree. Something too, like I'm really starting to like hammer at people too, is like the union leadership is also compromised by a lot of the same lobbyists. But we only have about 2 minutes left, so I want to give you that time for you to tell our viewers what it is you want them to hear the most.
What I want them to hear the most is it is absolutely essential, imperative that we get money out of politics.
Mhm.
Money taints everything because this is a capitalistic society. Basically, I call it a pyramid game where all of those people on the bottom, all of that labor force is used to feed the top of the pyramid. We need to get that influence out of our elections. That way we could have just normal people running, good-hearted people with good intentions running for office that want to do good for humanity, not just themselves, man. These politicians, they get in office, they wrap themselves, I call it a cocoon of incompetence, where they can't do a damn thing. But they basically, especially in a 2-year position like representative, they spend most of their time calling and begging people for money. Even right after they get in, they're right back out on the streets campaigning and sending donate, donate, donate. It's like, it's exhausting, and we should know better. This is the shit I call insanity. Doing the same thing over and over, electing the same type of people and expecting a different result. We're not going to get a different result out of these people.
No, absolutely not. Well, I want to thank you for being here. It's Steve Hill for Congress is the website. We're going to post it on all of our show notes. You'll see it on the Chiron several times as we go throughout the interview. We appreciate your service and your activism, and we really thank you for being on, Steve.
Thank you for having me. And everybody, buckle up, get geared up, get registered to vote. Tell your baby's mama, tell everybody you can to get ready to vote. I forgot to tell you guys, I also do stand-up comedy.
Heck yeah. We'll attach his TikTok. You can see some of his work there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Cool.
All right, man. Thanks
All
a
right.
lot.
Thank you.